Alright, BTB, what's up? Okay, this video is pretty cool. This is the process that I go through at the beginning of every month or the end of every month to redesign my practice routine for the next month. So if you guys are looking for some ideas on things that you can practice, check out this video. You might find a little nugget in there. So the first thing I do is draw in my practice trackers. And then, of course, I date them and put in the days of the week. And then after that, I go through a process of going over the things that I worked on during the current month and the things that I would like to add in for the next month and find a way to work that out. So here you go. Here's me doing that. Alright, so first I have the keyboard ear training exercise that I'm doing, solo keyboard, and the perfect pitch meditations, which are basically long tone meditations. Long tones done as an ear training exercise. And then after that I have three things that I call fluency, which basically the fluency exercises are licks or they're fragments from the Melody to Joy Spring, which I am learning in all 12 keys, with the ultimate goal of being able to play the Head to Joy Spring in all 12 keys at 160 beats per minute was my goal. After that I got a triple tongue exercise and the lip slurs from the book Flexus, as well as a transcription component, working on jazz transcriptions. After that I have been improvising with the metronome to Cherokee, as well as doing the maintenance routine for the pencil exercise, and keeping track of when I use the practice mute, because I want to stay comfortable with the practice mute. If you go back and watch the video, practice mute, friend or foe, you'll see that there are actually specific benefits that you can gain from using the practice mute. And also, I just like to stay in the practice of using it so that I don't feel uncomfortable when I'm forced to use it if I'm staying in a hotel or something like that. Okay, and while I'm doing this, what I realize is that I want to keep these things grouped together a little bit better. So I'm going to move Cherokee up to the top with the solo keyboard and perfect pitch meditation exercises, because those are all part of my daily. So I keep the daily separate in the practice log. I keep those things grouped together. And then after the daily, the next parts of the routine are what I've decided to call the fast track. So the fast track are the things that I'm going to be practicing on a regular basis. I want to do those as often as I can while keeping it reasonably comfortable, because I want to make rapid progress on those things. And they're basically all just basic trumpet mechanics and technique. So that is the fast track. The fast track is also where I aim not to miss more than 2 days in a row on each exercise. So the daily is every day, and the fast track are the things that I don't want to miss more than 2 days in a row. I want to keep those going. And then the pencil exercise is on the slow track. In other words, that's just maintenance, or maintenance slow improvement, and that I am just doing twice a week. And the practice mute, I actually didn't have that on a track at all. I was just tracking it. So I just wanted to see what kind of frequency I was using the practice mute naturally, and then use that as a gauge for placing it on the fast track or the slow track. So that's everything that I have already been doing. Then the next thing I'm going to do is write in the things that I would like to add into my routine, or the things that I would like to change about my routine for the next month. I really treat this as an experiment because you don't know how things are going to work out until you do it. So I like to try new things and do them for the entirety of the month to see how they work out, and then I can adjust accordingly the following month. So the things that I would like to add are, first of all, I'd like to add in a composition component, and this comes from the pedagogy of Lenny Tristano. If you watched the 12 Days of Trumpet Day 1, I showed you my practice log for the month of August, and one of the things that I'm doing here is channeling a few of my musical heroes and asking myself, how would they critique my practice regimen? So a big part of Lenny Tristano's pedagogy is using the musical information that you're learning as part of a composition, and using composition as a way to internalize the vocabulary. The next thing that I want to do is record myself more. I notice that when I'm recording myself, I tend to get better results with my sound, and it makes me a little bit more aware of how I actually sound in front of the bell rather than behind the bell, and helps me hear myself a little bit more objectively. without using up some of my awareness on how it feels to play and the actual actions of playing. This way I can just hear how I sound and then adjust what I'm doing accordingly. One of the other guys that I was channeling was Kenny Werner, and his whole thing is that your practice time should have a component for playing lines, learning how to create lines or licks or fluency as I'm calling it, and then also a rhythm component and a harmony component. So this month I want to add in a harmony component and combine that with my desire to learn some more tunes. And then the other guy that I was channeling was Warren Marsh, and he suggests that his beginning students split their practice time 50-50 between technique and improvising slowly with a metronome. I wrote about that in the first article of the year in review. So those are the things that I would like to add into my routine, and now we will figure out how to do that. All right, so let's start with the 50-50 split. Now, something really interesting and kind of cool that I recently read was, see if you can solve your problems using only subtraction. So the tendency is to want to pile on more and more things for us to do, but perhaps it is possible to actually find creative solutions to our problems by taking things away. And this is a really good example of that. So what I decided is that if I make a maximum amount of days that I'm allowed to perform each technique on the fast track before I have to take a day off, then that will open up some space in my routine. Now, the reason this might be a good idea for me is because I tend to favor technical practice when I'm practicing. I'm always trying to build up my chops or beef up my sound or whatever it is, and the way that I tend to do that is by doing things like lip slurs, articulations. So the point is that I'm very comfortable doing the technical practice, and I often resort to that just out of habit. So if we take a look at the Flexus slurs, you'll see I did 1, 2, 3 days in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days in a row, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days there as well. So if I had a maximum of 3 days before I had to take 1 day off, I am thinking that I might decide to fill that itch for more trumpet with the improvisation. So this is just a method of reducing what I'm doing in hopes that it will naturally increase other areas of my practice time. Now, the next thing we'll take a look at is my desire to record myself a little bit more, and the way that I'm going to work this in is I'm just going to track it like I did last month with the pencil exercise. I'm not going to have any aim for how many times per week I want to record myself or anything like that. I'm just going to track in the month of September when I do record myself. So we're just going to track that for now. And then the next thing that I'd like to work on is the tunes and harmony component. So all I'm going to do here is add in slowly improvising with a metronome over There Will Never Be Another You. This is a tune that by and large I'm already very familiar with, but it's not one that I regularly improvise over, so it usually takes me like a chorus to figure out what's going on there. And also there's a turnaround at the end that I've never been 100% comfortable on, so that will be what I'm considering my harmony component, is getting used to the turnaround at the end of the tune. I think it goes to like a dominant chord built on the major 7 or something, and I just never really hear that. So I'm going to take it nice and slow, lock that into my ear, and just improvise over that tune slowly with the metronome. And I'm also going to keep in Cherokee and Joy Spring and then just work those into the fast track along with this new tune. And then the final part here will be the composition. And what I'm going to do with composition is I'm going to use the chord changes and pieces of the melody from Joy Spring as a starting place. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to do. I'm just going to go for it and try to figure it out as I go. I do not have any compositional experience, really. I guess you could say the improvising is compositional, slowly improvising, but I don't have any actual writing of music composition experience yet. However, I do have a lot of experience writing words, and I figured that the process is probably largely the same. Spew a bunch of crap out on the paper and then edit, edit, edit. So the way I'm going to work that in is I'm going to put it on the slow track because frankly I don't think that I will stick to doing it any more regularly than 2 days per week, and that is totally fine by now, just to get me in the habit of doing that. So there you go. Composition on the slow track using the material from Joy Spring. And then I'm just going to transfer all of that into my September practice tracker. So I've got the solo keys, which I'm going to call tonal nourishment. And then I've got the meditations, which I'm just going to call fundamental because I'm listening to the fundamental of the sound while I do those. And then slow improvising, those 3 are going to be on the top as part of the daily. And then the next section down, I've got Cherokee, Joy Spring, There Will Never Be Another You, Triple Tongue, the Flexus, Lip Slurs, and Transcription in the fast track. And then I'll also include in there the Fluency 1, 2, and 3, but I'm not going to write that in quite yet because I'm not exactly sure how I'd like to set that up. I want to change those a little bit. And then below that, I've got Composition and Pencil in the slow track, meaning I just do that 2 times per week. And then below that, again, I have Practice Mute and Recording Myself. I'm just simply going to track those to see what kind of frequency I'm doing it naturally, and then maybe I will add that into the slow track or the fast track at another time. So that's it. That's the process. I do that at the beginning of every new month, or in this case, at the very end of this month, and it helps to keep me on track. So maybe you guys can work something like that in for yourselves, and I think you'll dig it. It'll help you keep going in a systematic way, and since you're redesigning it at the beginning of every month, you're not going to get stuck doing something you don't want to do for too long. So anyways, talk to you later.